automobile sector. We've heard a lot about recently. Carlos Gomes, this is your area of focus. Let's consider the big three U.S. automakers. Carlos, how bad is it?
Well, just to give you a sense of the change that happened in the last little while. During the first 8 months of the year, we had U.S. volumes that, while they were lower than they had been, they were sort of sliding, but they still averaged on about 14 million units. And what happened since this crisis really developed in September and October is that those volumes went from 14 million to about 10 million. So you had essentially close to a 40% drop in market demand. That happening to companies that were already starting to be strapped for cash meant that now they are bleeding cash pretty profusely. And the reality is, in the case of General Motors, they have about $17, $18 billion on their balance sheet. They're going through more than close to $2 billion a month. And if they get to about 11 billion, they're essentially gone.
Their liabilities exceed their assets.
Yep.
Okay.
So, well, it's a matter, it's just the cash level that they have. I say it's about 18 billion. If they come in, then they're basically using it up at a rate of about 2 billion a month.
But the main reason is that demand has collapsed.
And demand has essentially collapsed. Okay. But the problem was, up until now, was the type of vehicle that they were producing. When we had high gas prices, nobody wanted to buy trucks, and that's what they were selling. And so that's what the problem was. Fine, then they were starting to get more cars on the market. But the problem was, now it's not only a GM issue, Toyota, Honda, and so forth, all their volumes are falling 20 to 30%.
And so far, the collapse in demand is in the U.S. Is that right, Carlos?
Definitely.
Canadian sales have held up not too bad, but the fear is now they're going to start
that we will start to see significantly lower volumes. The reality is here in Canada, and it goes back to what we were talking earlier about how we have not been impacted to the same degree as elsewhere. The reality is, in terms of Canadian sales, they're still up 1.5%. Contrast that to 20 to 30% drops, not only in the United States, but the recent numbers out of Europe are showing, 15% declines. So it's become really a global issue.
Carlos Gomes, let's turn to the automobile industry. Will the big three be bailed out? Is there a future for an auto industry in North America?
Well, the reality is that building cars, between people building auto parts for those cars and between people working at dealerships to sell cars across North America, you have in excess of 7 million people.
7 million people?
Yes.
In North America?
In North America. So in GM, even though their share of the market has gone down significantly, it used to be 50% of the market, now they're in the 20s. If GM goes, you can make sure that over 2 million people are going to lose their jobs. So if we're in a financial crisis at the moment, can we afford to let 2 million people more go? The reality is that some of the governments will have to come to their assistance in order to prevent additional job losses. But I think it's more important than that. I think there has to be a role for the unions, and any bailout that will come, and it does have to come, does require that unions are at the table. And this is an important distinction. In the United States, the cost, the hourly cost for GM, Ford, and Chrysler is, if you look at including the health care, pension benefits, and all that kind of stuff, is about $73 per hour for an assembly line worker. Toyota, because they have new facilities, they don't have the pension and don't have to carry the pensions the way the big three do, they pay $48 an hour. So that's the big difference. And that's why Toyota and Honda are profitable, and while GM and the others aren't. There's a big gap there. So that has to be addressed with any bailout initiatives that comes forward. Here in Canada, the CAW does have to be at the table as well, because we're even in worse shape. The reality is that GM and Ford have to pay about $77 an hour for their hourly employees. So can they continue to make cars in this country paying $77 an hour versus $48 for Toyota? No. So does the bailout have to happen? Yes, because otherwise you're going to see unemployment soar. Does it have to be a restructuring in the sense that they have to lower their labor costs? Yes, because just a simple bailout is not going to do it. So while I hear this morning the new president of the CAW says that yes, they need a bailout, but we're not giving any concessions. Well, fine. If you decide not to give any concessions, the industry is gone anyways.
And that's the problem, getting sort of everyone at the table to
Exactly.
agree on something in a relatively short period of time.
That's right.